Hi everyone, welcome to another video. So we don't have all that many shout outs today, just a shout out for Zytic and also for Caitlin Woodend. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you want to know how to get a shout out, I'll come back to that at the end of this video. So today we're going to be having a look at the Spectre website. Now one of the things that is worthwhile mentioning is that this particular website I don't think exists anymore. So what the exam board have said is that it's absolutely fine for you guys to comment on this particular website. You can comment on the 007 website as a whole. They're not going to sort of penalise you for commenting on one over the other, because websites are sort of a forever changing and evolving medium, and so they're going to award you whatever it is that you mention. Because I studied this with my groups last year and I've still got the annotations, that's what I'm going to be looking at today. Once I've gone through all of the other things that are on my list, I will come back and have a look at the 00 website as a whole. So let's get started then. At the top of the page you'll see that there are tabs, and although this is not specific to the Spectre website as a whole, it's worthwhile knowing and understanding the language of websites just so that you can comment on those in the future or in any of the other subjects that you're looking at as well. These are part of the browser, so they're not part of the Spectre website itself, but they do open up different web pages. What is important is the breadcrumbs that you can see in that bar at the top that tells you the website. Okay, so the website is the URL and each part of that contains breadcrumbs. So this shows where you are in the overall website. Now, because what we can see here is 007.com/Spectre, we know that the Spectre webpage is part of this 007 webpage as a whole. If we were to go then to the news section, that would add an extra element to those breadcrumbs so you can track where you are in the overall website. Now we've got copy right in that black banner at the top, which sort of self-advertises the film in the ability that you can sort of buy it now on DVD. We also have icons that are part of the browser. They conduct a variety of functions, but the ones that we're going to pay most attention to are the ones that are on the page itself. So along that white banner just underneath the Spectre heading, we've got further tabs. Clicking on these will provide drop-down menus or hyperlinks that take you to other parts of the website. This way it makes the website more easily accessible and easy to navigate so that audiences who are perhaps not as familiar with the website can find out where they need to go. They also include a search icon. Now this is a convention of most websites, but it's quite interesting that it's included on the 007 website because it allows the audience to personalise this information by finding out the stuff that they're most interested in. You tend to find search icons on things like news websites, not so much on websites for films because there's sort of a limited amount of information, but it does enable the demographic who are looking at this to sort of personalise what they're looking for. We've also got hyperlinks included at the bottom of the page. Now these are a legal requirement. You have to have some sort of information about their privacy policy, how they deal with data, how they deal with things like cookies, also about things like accessibility for people who perhaps have additional needs. That would be included in one of those tabs at the bottom. The navigation bar, which is part of the browser as a whole, allows the demographic to scroll through the website. I'm not going to go into too much more detail on that in a minute because there's another annotation that's going to be quite important that involves scrolling. We've also got up by that search icon a flag icon. Now this is symbolic because it indicates what language and what country the demographic are viewing the website in. It also shows how broad and how wide the audience for Spectre is because you can then further personalise the website by viewing it in your particular language or from your country, which again makes it personal to you. Now beneath each of the headlines that are on these smaller news boxes at the bottom, we've got a subheading or a sort of stand first. Stand first is basically like an introductory sentence, so it tells you what this is going to be about and it gives more detail on each of those different hyperlinks that you can click on. Now, as we've said, we've got a headline as well, so that comes below these picture images, and it's not only a headline, but it sort of acts as a caption as well. So not only does it tell us information about the image, but it also acts as a sort of headline for the story that it will take you to. A lot of these contain buzzwords such as premiere, and this acts as an incentive for audiences to click on them because it makes it sound like they're getting something more special. The images themselves are also hyperlinks, so you could click on the headline, you could click on the image, and it would take you to that particular page. Some of them contain convergence and synergy, such as taking you to the store to buy the DVD, or taking you to YouTube to perhaps watch the video for Writings on the Wall. So it's a way of Spectre widening their appeal and widening the audience, because obviously the different websites that they take you to will be used by a variety of different audiences. Okay, so coming back to that scroll line then, if we look at sort of the end of that predominant image just before we get to the latest news section, that would be what you see on the home screen. So when you open this web page up, that's what would fill your monitor. Anything below that image is considered to be below the scroll, because you literally have to scroll down to find it. And this sort of is an adapted term from broadsheet newspapers, from when you used to sort of open it out and look at the information that was below the fold. It basically means that anything above that line is going to be the most important and is going to be the most prominent, and anything below the line is going to carry less importance. And that sort of makes sense, doesn't it, really? Because as you can see here, the most important thing for the company is to tell you about Spectre, and then less important is those other convergent and synergy links. Looking at that main screen then, we've got a large image that takes up the majority of the page. It's the same shot that's featured on the poster. In fact, it almost is the poster itself. It can also be seen in two of the thumbnails in the latest news section. So we can see how they're reusing images and reusing this sort of iconography to create different meanings. We've also got social media links to different sort of websites here. So again, this acts as another element of convergence. It widens the demographic and widens the appeal, because the demographic for Facebook is going to be different to the demographic for Twitter, going to be different to the demographic for YouTube. So it's a way of including a larger audience here. And finally, the black banner contains the logos for both the film as a whole and also the franchise. And we looked at those when we were looking at the posters. So breaking this down into those key concepts then, and again, remember, even though for film posters, it's only really going to come up in section B of your exam, which is the sort of industry and audience section, it's worthwhile knowing all of the different elements to your poster, because it might be that you can bring in elements of representation in your audience question. It could be that the media language is important for the industry. So they all do sort of link together, and it's worthwhile breaking it down into these different sections. So in terms of language then, this is part of the 007 website as a whole, but this page is specifically for Spectre. So the media language revolves around this particular film with additional elements of 007 as a whole. The language on the website also emphasises how important Spectre is, and you can see that through those latest news stories where some of the news is about the awards that it's won, and it also includes a lot of synergy links with other parts of the franchise, such as the songs and music videos that are associated with the film itself. In terms of our industry, we've got a variety of icons to link to social media aspects of the film, which, as we've said, not only allows the audience to be sort of broadened, but it allows them to connect with the production itself and also key people who are involved in the production. So it might be that they go to Daniel Craig's Facebook page, or that they go to the director's Twitter page in order to communicate almost directly with them. And by doing this, it also helps to create a community for the demographic where they can interact with each other over this shared interest. Now, other aspects of the website that we've got include a search function. This allows the audience and the demographic to personalise the website and their experience by looking specifically for information that they need. And you can further personalise this website, as we've said, by selecting what country you want to view it from, what language you want to view it from, and this indicates the worldwide appeal of the film as well. Now, in terms of audience, the primary demographic are 24 to 40 males, as we would expect to find for the film as a whole. It's also worthwhile noting, though, that the primary demographic would include a large amount of females, and this is because it's the female population who tend to use websites more than the male population. Our secondary demographic, as we've seen before, very similar to what we've experienced with the posters, because ultimately it's all about Spectre and it's all about 007. Now, in terms of our representation then, the website is still masculine through the images that are portrayed on the website, but the masculinity is not as emphasised as we've seen on the posters or as we will see in the trailers for the film. And this is quite important because, again, it reflects the fact that it's likely to be females who are looking at the website as a whole. So as we've said, websites tend to be used more by females than males, so this might be why it's less emphasised. Another thing to mention is that the format and style of the website changes beyond the scroll line. So we go from something that's very dark, that includes that black banner, the low key lighting on that image that we've got from the poster, the gold writing on the black background. We go from that to having a bright white background where those thumbnails are. So this is designed mostly to represent the website as sophisticated rather than applying any sort of gender to it. So it's a really quick video today, guys. Here are our key terms. It's really useful to go through these and to highlight them in your work that you've got so far, just so that when you're revising, they stand out to you and you're more likely to recognise them and use them. For any of these that you don't know, you might want to write yourself a sentence using it so that you then know how it's applicable for in your exam. For those of you who are still waiting for Luther and for other elements of sort of the course to be covered, you'll be pleased to know that there are only going to be 3 more videos on film posters and film marketing before we actually start looking at Luther as a whole. If you haven't already, please subscribe, hit the button down below. If you hit the bell icon next to it, you get notifications every time I post a new video. If you want to, you can get in touch by leaving a comment in the comment section below. I do my best to respond to everybody, so make sure that you're asking those questions if you need to. If you don't really want to post them in the comments below, you can also get in touch with me through Twitter at media_revision. And I've recently launched a Instagram account where I'll be posting elements of revision and also really interesting things that you might want to refer to in your exams. So there's a few advertisements that are up on that Instagram at the moment that you might want to have a look at that you could relate to your revision and also to your study. All right, guys, I will see you next week for the next video.